Hello and welcome to Thinking Aloud from WPNC and Go Donate, the podcast where we get together and share our thoughts about fundraising, advertising and more. We're here to help charities find new donors, keep existing ones and make the donation process easier than ever. If you like what you hear, we'd love to chat. All our details are in the bio.
So, delighted to welcome Joanna Reynolds, who's Chief Executive of Folio Society, with me today. I first met Joanna when she was in marketing at Which. Then Joanna went to Reader's Digest and was one of the senior people at that organisation. And then moved on into Time Life Books, as many of you will remember. And so she's been heavily involved in direct marketing in all of its forms for a very long time. And I was particularly fascinated to hear Joanna's recent experiences, because when she moved into Folio Society, it was a very traditional mail order, direct mail type of publisher. And under her guardianship, she's really moved it very much into the digital sphere, which I think is fascinating. And that's one of the reasons why I've asked Joanna to have a chat with us today, because I think for charities in particular, the move from traditional media into online media is a very interesting one. But I thought it'd be really useful to hear from somebody who's pioneered this move and to get some idea of the pitfalls and the possibilities and the hows and the whys and all the rest of it. So really over to Joanna. Joanna, how long have you been at Folio Society?
So I've been here 9 years now. I came in as a consultant, so I was running my own consultancy, Reynolds Busby Lee, for 10 years. In fact, we worked with many charities during that time, as well as people like Laithwaites. So I came in, had a look at the business. I didn't think we could save it to begin with, but then I looked at the results and we were getting nearly a 20% response to the Christmas catalogue. And I thought, that's ridiculous. There's obviously 20%, John. Yeah. I've never seen this. And I thought, okay, there's some very committed customers in this business. And I said, we can save it, but everything has to change. And we did masses of change. And our focus here, not really on the structural changes and everything else, but on the marketing changes. And the reason I'm saying that, and this is also important to charities, is that the world changes and the needs and the desires of people outside change. And you have to be aware of that and you have to go out and find out what they want. And we needed to change. So that's changed. All our back-end systems, we had 14 systems when I came in that didn't speak to each other. Now we've brought them all down. We have one version of the truth, which we certainly didn't have back then. But to focus on marketing, we set up a digital team. As I say, for the first time ever, there'd never been a digital team here.
You'd never had any digital facilities in-house
there was
until that point?
There was a website. There was a website, which kind of worked, but only kind of. Mm-hmm. That was it, though. There was nothing else. But what happened just before I came in is we published Dune, D-U-N-E, by Frank Herbert, and IO9 and Tor, which are two social media channels over in the States, although they're global, picked it up, and they just sold it out, right? And again, the marketing department's reaction to this was, oh, great, now we can discount it. No, this is great. Why would you do that? But it made you realise that there was a real need and desire for some of our books. So outside of the digital sphere, we finished the whole subscription book club model. And our customer service people said, oh, this is going to be awful. We're going to get so many calls. We can't do anything in August while you're doing this. We didn't get a single call. So we got rid of subscriptions. We opened it up to anybody who wanted to do business with us. And what happened then is since then we've become an omni-channel business. And the reason, I know you've asked me to talk about social and I'm going to, but I'm also going to talk about our other channels, because if they don't work together, it doesn't work. And there's another channel which I think would be fantastic for charities, which they need to make sure they also develop, okay?
As an aside, many organisations and charities amongst them have got the marketing side separated from the digital side. So you have a digital department, usually looking after the website, and you have the marketing side who have to get things done through the digital department. Is that a familiar story for Folio Society?
It was a familiar story to me when I was a consultant, because I went into many businesses, including charities, that had it split. And every time I said, what are you doing? This is ridiculous. Of course you can't be split. Yes, on some level, they regarded the website as something different, because it was being totally driven by direct mail and catalogues. So they didn't really seemed to understand that people would go to the website and order. So when I came in, way below 50% of orders were put through the website. Now 99.5 or something come through the website, and a few come through the phone. But I mean, we were still driven back then by postal orders, by orders coming through the post, and we sold globally then. I mean, that's grown since I've been here. We've purposely grown our international business, but you can imagine you're waiting for post to come back from Australia. It takes forever.
So you operate in Australia, you operate in the States?
Yeah, the US is our biggest market by revenue, and very soon, like any moment now, also by customer base. Okay. But they spend far more per order than the UK, far more. So the US is our biggest market, has been for a long time. Then the UK, and then we have something that's very sweetly called rest of the world. So yeah, Canada, Australia, I mean, California alone, to be honest, is something like our fifth biggest market. Germany, massive. We only publish in English. Germany, very big market for us. We sell everywhere apart from Russia and stuff.
And of course. And do you see the market that you're talking to? Is it a distinctive market? Is it a group that you can identify, or is it very diverse?
It's very diverse. It's also got deep fan bases and deep communities. So when you get into a certain genre, or even a book within that genre, if there is that deep interest, fan base, whatever we call it, a fan base, you wouldn't necessarily call that in charities, then that's when it works really well. And one of the things I'm going to be talking about quite a lot is user-generated content, where you use the people that love you and work with you. And so, for us, it's people who love the books. They're opening the books. They're talking about the books. If I was in a charity, it'd be the people that are out there fundraising. What are they doing? All your ambassadors, your influencers, the people that love you, who work with you, who think what you do is really important. And you need all of that in all of your channels, right? Definitely on the website, definitely in social. That's what really makes things work.
And how do you get them to react to you in that case? Do you invite them to send you comments, or do they just send comments anyway?
We do both.
Right.
We do both. We don't pay these people. We give them books sometimes. And again, if I was a charity, I'd be thinking, what could I do with them to encourage them to do this? Would I be taking them to the food bank, or would I be taking them to a homeless shelter, or what would I be doing to encourage them to continue to support us and see what's happening? Because I think that, getting involved and caring is really important. And people do still really care, even though we often don't believe that in the current world. They do. And
I think we've become too cynical in marketing.
I think many of us have, yes. I can give you a little bit of background about our social media and what we have, if that helps.
So how do you actually recruit an entirely new customer for one of your collections?
So we do it in various ways. We do it through paid social and also organic social. So paid socials on Meta and TikTok and stuff like that. And again, user-generated content's a really big part of that. The other thing you'll love is creative. Mm-hmm. One of the things we found, because Apple and people have made it so much more difficult to understand what the audiences are, and how you do that, mm-hmm. It's creative that's become very important now, and how you present yourself and what you say. So you should keep testing things. What works, what doesn't work. Move quickly.
Of course, you can test very quickly.
Very quickly. And A/B test, just do it. So there's paid social, which I say is on TikTok and Instagram. Instagram's the biggest social media platform for us, partly because we're creative, right, and they can see.
Even for what I'm saying, even for an older audience. I mean,
we'll come back.
Am I wrong in thinking this is
an older audience? We'll come back to that.
Fair enough.
We'll come back to older audience. And then there's organic, where you're advertising within your own social media. And we're growing that and growing that and growing that. And that is important to us. So we launched Song of Achilles in July, and we got over 2 million views for Song of Achilles, and we sold it out.
And did you use video, or was it?
Yes, video is important, absolutely. But also, it's for us, it's unboxing, right? People getting it and opening it, taking it out of the thing, opening it, looking at it, going, "Oh my God, look at this!"
Right.
And
so you
demonstrate how beautiful it is and how it draws people in, and then people see the illustrations and see how beautiful and amazing it is, and if they trust that. And funnily enough, the person who did it on BookTok for us, she wasn't well known. It completely made her name, because she got so many views and followers following what she did for us. Okay. And then you get real fans, right? And then they'll do it. But then we have people that we work with who are very famous, who will also talk about our books. And Guillermo del Toro, I can never say this man's name,
the director.
Yeah. He just won an Oscar for something. Okay. And he was wittering on his social media, blah, 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 Oscar, blah, 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 blah. And they said, oh my God, Folio have just launched their spring collection. And then he went back to talking about and he is a real fan of ours. And you need to get those people. And if any of the charities out there work with people who are known,
So this is celebs as far as charities are concerned.
Yeah, absolutely.
And most charities I know
have some celebs, don't they?
A lot of celeb support, yeah.
You should use it and get them, even if they're saying something very small, and often you have to write it for them.
Of course.
So when we published our limited edition of Shakespeare, Judi Dench was one of the introducers. And, the thing she said was incredible. And you just put it on the website, you put it on your social, and that just is a starting point of the conversation.
And take me through the call to action then. This is my ancient direct marketing speak. What's the call to action then when you're on Instagram or TikTok?
It has our web address.
That's the web address.
Yeah, so you just come to us. Yeah.
And can you monitor that traffic?
Yes, you can. You can now track that.
You can track that.
And so you can track. You can't always track where everybody comes from. You never can, and you've never been able to. You and I know that. You work with omni-channel marketing. You can't do that. But there are ways that you can get enough that you can then extrapolate from what you've got to know where people are coming from. And so the thing that social's done for us is it's allowed us to reach into markets that we couldn't before. So you're right. When I came in 9 years ago, our customer base was pretty much over 60 white men, and very much UK oriented.
And quite well off, I would have thought.
Yeah, well educated, well off. I mean,
they can read, and they like books with pictures in.
Yeah, yes, but they were very much, and also, back in the day, we even had a club in St James's. I mean, that tells you kind of what Folio was about.
Okay,
but they were also people, I think, that didn't necessarily buy them to read them and love them. They bought them to put them on their bookshelves. What's changed, and this is also partly e-readers, this is why you've got to be aware of what's going on in the world to care about this, is that now with younger people, if they find a book they love, they're willing to pay more money for it in a physical form.
So they might have read it on a Kindle first.
They may have done.
And then they think, I really love that, so I want one to keep.
Yeah, but they also want it to read, not just to keep. And we want them to read it. So that's also quite interesting. The other thing that works incredibly well for us is if there's a movie coming out or a TV series, that really helps us.
But you had a big DC Comics thing not so long ago, didn't you?
We're still doing those. We've got Superman coming out in the spring. Huge.
Wow. That would go unbelievably well on social media. I mean, you could just see that coming to life. Absolutely.
It does. And obviously we do Marvel too. Then DC came along after Marvel. So that works well. But I mean, there's Howl's Moving Castle over there by Dana Wynne Jones, and that's a movie. Mm-hmm. It's a Japanese movie. Everybody assumes it's Japanese because she was Welsh and she wrote it for her siblings.
Right.
And there is literally somebody under the stairs like Harry Potter. I mean, she inspired so many people.
Okay.
And when somebody in the digital team recommended that book for us to publish, and most of us didn't know it, and then we realized there's a massive deep fan base for it, and it's one of our best sellers now. It's incredible. It's an amazing book. That's done incredibly well for us. So if you can find those depths of caring, and it doesn't matter whether it's caring about a book or caring about whether it's the climate crisis or homelessness or whatever it might be, if you can find those depths of people that care, that's what matters. And once you've found some, you can use that to extrapolate into other areas, and maybe use the stories, because those stories will reach out to other people that respond to those stories.
And you get the feedback from those people, which builds the whole thing up.
Yeah. And it's the stories, John. It's the stories you tell.
Yeah.
Because if you tell the story and somebody empathizes with that story, they'll respond. Yeah. And one of the things that I'm talking about is it's not quantity, it's quality.
Right.
So, don't go and do lead gen campaigns, for instance, because all that happens there is Meta, for instance, fills in all the person's details,
right,
and you get loads and loads of response, but there's no quality in it. You need the quality. That's what you need. So one of the things we do is when we get people even interested, and you can see that they're interested and they're engaged, we then follow up on that. We follow up through social media, but we also follow up via email. And I think email is crucial here, by the way.
Okay, tell us more about how you use email then.
Okay, so
I thought email was
I know, you think it's dead, don't you?
gone.
You think it's dead. But no, so email is about sort of retention and engagement. Email now generates 30% of our turnover, of our revenue, which is pretty remarkable because that's really grown in the last year because we've got somebody really good in. And what they do is they don't just follow up on people that bought, so they wouldn't just follow up on donors. They also follow up on anybody that's shown interest, and they engage with them and they say, we see you're interested, and try and find out why and what. So then there's a very strong welcome journey to bring them into us and into the brand. We personalize it. We make them feel good about what they're doing. So you'd make them feel good about making the world a better place or whatever else.
Do you not get a lot of opt-outs on email?
We get some, yeah, of course we do. And we allow opt-outs, and we're careful about that. But yes, of course we do. We get some, but we don't get as much as many people. And charities, I don't think, would, unless they misuse it. You have to be careful.
People are very nervous of over, in the old days of over direct mailing, which I'd never understood, but even more worried about over emailing now.
Yes, there was that feeling here, I think, but we email probably 4 times a week with different stories. It may be the collection, it may be Black History Month, it may be the anniversary of something, or it may just be a chat. And again, in the welcome journey, if you're a donor, you'll get one kind of sets of communication, and if you're just interested, you'll get something else to kind of keep your interest. One of the other things we do is build up our stories. So when we've got a book, something like Shakespeare, which has got such a massive story behind it about the way it was produced and designed and everything else, we'll start the story kind of a year before and say, right, this is where we are. And we take them all the way through. They love that.
And is this all within the body of the email, or does it link out to
no,
the website?
It definitely links to the website, and it'll sometimes bring in social media as well. And we'll use the same stories across both of them, and there'll be links between them, and you need to watch what's happening.
But it's still telling stories.
Absolutely.
Still going back to this principle that you're talking about, which is tell
the story, and get real people. You want real humans telling stories, not the company, real people out there. And I think
I strongly dislike when charities do a TV ad posed by actors. Now, I know in some cases you can't avoid it for obvious reasons, because some charities you just can't do it. But I still find it very, very difficult when it is so clearly staged. And getting to the reality is, I think, a much more powerful story to tell.
Much more powerful. I think it's a much more powerful story to tell. And I think if you can use people that are in the field or involved, or somebody who's benefited from it, whatever it might be. I mean, it's difficult. Charities are doing completely different things, obviously. But any of those things that you can get is incredibly powerful. You need to reach out and be very empathetic in the way you do it, because you can't abuse them. I don't mean that in any other way other than
issues, you've got to be,
you know what I mean.
Very sensitive to
very sensitive to them. And I think there's another thing with social that's important, which is trends and things that are happening, and you have to jump on it really quickly.
So does that mean you've got a big team of digital people here at Folio Society to react that fast, or how do you actually do this? So technically,
we've got 2 people who do email. We've got one person who does sort of all the paid social stuff. We've got somebody who looks after our website, and he does all the uploading and all that kind of thing. And then we've got 2 people who do all the social and
so
all
not
that
a team
stuff.
of 50 people doing this.
No, we haven't got 50 people in the whole business. No, so it's 4 or 5, yeah.
And they can work quickly, obviously.
Very quickly. And they work together.
And
And
to whom do they report? To
the marketing director.
Not to the digital.
No. There's
no.
So
the marketing person.
And we still do catalogues. We do still physical catalogues. We do 3 a year, and they are still important, because the thing that catalogues do is they hang around for much longer and people share them. So it is important to still do catalogues. But what we've done is we've been quite careful about the way we use them, because they're expensive, particularly obviously the US being our biggest market. We actually print our US catalogues in the States now, but that is still worth it. So as you said, like emails seem to have kind of drifted away. It's drifted very much back again. Catalogues we're using less, but they're still really important part of the mix. But what social, because even now, lots of young people aren't on social. I started off with, when I came in, most people was men over 60. Now our biggest cohort is 25 to 34.
Really?
Yeah.
Fantastic.
Yeah. It doesn't mean that the over 60s has gone down, actually. It's just our customer base has grown.
Got more of them.
You know, so they've stayed fairly static, but the other areas have grown. And in fact, this which is the 16 to 24 is nearly as big as the over 60s, which is mad.
Wow.
But it's partly because we're publishing different kinds of books, but it's also because of the way we're talking about them.
And do those younger people spend the money?
Yes.
Do they spend as much money as the older people? Do they really?
Yes.
Okay, that's
yes, they
interesting.
do. They do. Now, we're a high-end brand, John.
Yeah.
And so I know there are people...
I mean, give the audience an average spend of I mean, you know, one of your books is £50-60.
Yeah, so our cheapest book in the UK is £39.95 or £49.95. The average spend in the UK is about £80-90. And, you know, some people pay significantly more than that, obviously. Yeah. And our limited editions can be up to £1,000. Yeah. So, you know, that's
a fantastic one.
Yeah, so that's different. But
are you allowed to say what's the worst things that have happened in digital media as far as folios? I mean, you don't have to answer that one. You can hide them if you want.
That's a good question. I'm not sure that we've had anything that's been disastrous. Sometimes people accuse you of something and they moan about the pricing.
Publicly?
Yeah.
On social media?
Yeah. They moan about pricing. And also, there's, you know, because you get fan bases, right? So, and then they get very cross if you do something they're unhappy with, and they'll moan about it. And we listen to what people say, but, you know, I don't run my business on what they say, obviously.
I mean, this is the Trustpilot effect, isn't it, I suppose? Do you use that sort of thing?
Yeah, no, we do use Trustpilot. And Trustpilot's really important. We've got good rankings on Trustpilot. And if somebody is very unhappy, our customer service team will respond. Yeah, no, we don't ignore it. Yeah, no, we'll definitely do that. And it's important to do that. And it's important to engage with people. And if there's somebody, unless it's something that you realise if you engage with it, you're not going to get anywhere and it's not going to help, we will respond to things. But there are sometimes things which are too, I don't mean politically as in politics, I just mean you just know that it's not going to be a good thing, then you don't. But yeah, no, we do engage and we do respond. I mean,
charities can get an awful lot of you know, washback on social media for, you know, the more political or the more adventurous your cause is, the more you can get sort of people saying, you know, really not very pleasant things. But I guess as long as you can manage it, that's a price you have to pay.
It is, and you have to have relatively broad shoulders about that, I think. When I came in, there was a group that everybody spent all their time listening to and kind of going, oh, well, we can't do that because this group says we can't do it. And they got hold of me and started trolling me because they found out I'd worked at Reader's Digest. So they called me Miss Reader's Digest and, you know, just set off down prize draw and all that stuff. Yeah. And eventually I responded to one of them.
Which I'm told is the worst thing you can do.
Well, actually, no, it shut him up. But I was quite careful about the way I did it, obviously. But, you know, we listen to our customers. We actually go out and ask our customers to give us information. We do lots of surveys, lots of research, lots and lots. And I run focus groups and stuff.
Do you do this online?
We do some of it online, but focus groups when I can, obviously not during the lockdown, but when I can, we do focus groups in person. We did a couple in the States last year. We're going to do a couple in the UK in the new year. We'll go to the West Coast probably next year. It's really important to talk to your customers and listen to what they're saying to you. Really listen to it. And we do that, and we're very careful to do that, and we're very careful to make sure that we reach out. And we're lucky as a publisher and very unique in that we can do that. We know who our customers are. We know what they buy and we know where they are, right? Whereas most publishers have got no idea because they're going through third parties or bookshops or whatever. So yes, we do that. In social media, yes, we listen and we get reports back about what are the big things, what's trending, what are people excited about. And they do get incredibly excited when we say a new title's going to come out. Yeah. But yes, we listen to the bad things, you know, all the less happy things they say. And price is the thing, to be honest, they mainly argue about. And postage costs, particularly if they don't live in the UK.
And the legislative frameworks, you know, the cookies and
so
all this stuff. I mean, what's your views on where all this is going?
We go out of our way to make sure that I worked at Which for 10 years, to make sure that we abide by the rules. We do make sure we do that. And it can be very difficult. I mean, it's like, as I said, the changes that have come in through Apple that, you know, mean you can't put your own sort of audiences in anymore. And they're closing down an awful lot of what you can find out. And I mean, I wondered, to be honest with you, with Facebook, which used to be really huge for us. I mean, it's to say Instagram's bigger now, and I know they're all part of the same thing, but Facebook is kind of, for us, getting less, I think, less important. The other thing that is important for charities to know is that the mobile use is growing and growing and growing, and desktop's going down and down and down. So that you've got to make sure that whatever you're doing works very well on mobile. And that's everywhere now, even in the States, which, are behind us, but they're not now. And you need to make sure that really works, because if it doesn't, you're going to be losing your story. Back to stories. So, yeah, it's a difficult one. You do put yourself out there, and the legislative stuff is tough. We do all the things we're supposed to. But, sometimes we go, oh, God, here we go again. GDPR, we've got to go through all this all over again. But we do all of it, and it's important to do all of it.
And anything on the horizon coming up that's particularly exciting as far as photos concerned, apart from the products, obviously, but in terms of the marketing side, anything that you're plotting? We're
going through a redesign and a whole whatever of our website, which I think we're going through our tone of voice, how we present ourselves, how we talk about ourselves, because the business has changed so much. We're going to redesign the website. Making sure your website's as easy to use as possible is crucial. You need to make sure you again, John, on the website, do things, see what's working, see what's not. How can you get people to donate easily? What do they want? Maybe use newsletters. That actually, online newsletters, that does still work. They work for us. People like newsletters, and they get involved. Yeah. So all of those things are important. So we're very excited about this because it desperately needs it. And we've just appointed somebody. And so that's happening. We've also just started a data warehouse, which is so far behind so most other companies. I realise that. But we needed it. We've never had it. So it's going to bring all of our data together, all our information together. And already is beginning to kind of throw out things that we didn't really realise. So that's also very exciting. As I said to you just a while ago, email, which we've used for years, but this year we've got a new couple of people doing it, and they've made such a difference, really driven it forward. But I think once the website's done, then all of us actually are going to go, okay, what can we do now, and what other exciting things do we have to do?
Joanna, that's absolutely fantastic. You've done unbelievably well.
Thank you.
You really have. I think it's one of the great success stories of marketing in this country, what you've done to Folio Society. And I hope the charity audience can learn a lot from that. Okay, so thank you, Joanna. More podcasts coming up at some point in the near future, so keep an eye out for them. But in the meantime, Joanna Reynolds of Folio Society, much appreciated.
Thanks, John.
Thanks so much for listening. We hope you found that useful. To hear upcoming Thinking Aloud podcasts, subscribe now. And if you think we could help you, get in touch. Our details are in the bio.